405 horsepower, 430 foot-pounds of torque, 3-liter twin turbocharged intercooled V6, 10-speed select shift automatic transmission, front and rear locking differentials, 2.5-inch Fox live valve shocks, Watts Link rear suspension. Welcome to the channel. I'm Justin B. McBride, and you're watching This Just In with Justin. Justin today is the 2024 Ford Ranger Raptor, the mid-size truck we have all been waiting for. Today marks the introduction of the 2024 Ranger, Ford's worldwide best-selling mid-size truck, and it has so many great new features to discuss. And while every trim of the new Ranger from the XL, XLT, and Lariat has something new, I'm gonna skip straight to the one we all want, the Ranger Raptor. Ford flew me out to Detroit over the weekend to meet this truck in person. And my first impressions were, well, that looks familiar. And that's because it is. The domestic Ranger Raptor styling isn't too far off from its cousin down under, released last year. And while I had my hopes high for 35-inch tires to make the Ranger Raptor a truck-like companion to the Sasquatch Bronco, I'm here to report that it is sitting on the all-new KO3s in a 285/70/17, which is an undersized 33-inch tire. But don't let the tire size deflate your spirits. This truck packs a punch in every other category. Everything about this truck is a Raptor, and if you felt like the F-150 and Bronco Raptors have been just too far out of your grasp, I'm happy to tell you that the Ranger Raptor starts at under $57,000 shipped. Yeah, that's cheaper than a Rubicon Gladiator. To start, we need to understand the all-new 2024 Ranger. Ford has redesigned this truck from the ground up to be an all-American truck and fit into the Built Ford Tough line of trucks that so many of us already love. Rather than looking at the Ranger as a big brother to the Ford Maverick, it is better perceived as a little brother to the F-150. With a body-on-frame design, top quality interior, and of course a Raptor trim, the new Ranger even got this Gladiator owner to raise his eyebrows. Now I know there will be a lot of heavy marketing videos from every publisher on the market about this truck, and if you're serious about purchasing one, I'm sure you'll seek those out. Edmunds, Motor Trend, and every other publisher was invited to the same event that I went to. So I want to speak from the perspective of a guy who spends a large amount of his time in the driver's seat of a truck on dirt. Allow me to dig into some of the details I noticed while playing in and around the new Ranger Raptor that relate to specifically how I would use this truck as what I call a local lander. From a functionality standpoint, this truck checks a lot of my minimum requirement boxes. It has front and rear lockers. It has the largest of the small truck beds that I have seen. Ford redesigned the truck bed to fit a full stack of 8x4 sheets of plywood or sheetrock, which means it has some of the best interior space between the wheel wells available for a camper build. And while we're on the topic of campers, the Ranger Raptor has a GVWR of 6,790 pounds and a curb weight of 5,325 pounds, leaving a payload capacity of 1,465 pounds. To break that down, a Ranger Raptor with 2 passengers still has 1,000 pounds to play with. A 300-pound go fast, a 200-pound deck, and then 500 pounds of gear is what it would take to even hit the threshold. That's impressive and nearly 300 pounds more than my diesel Gladiator can handle. The Ranger Raptor's numbers are doing a lot of the talking. Not to mention, it can tow 5,510 pounds. I am generally hesitant to tell folks to build overland rigs out of Raptors, but I have to say the Ranger Raptor is quickly changing that opinion. Yes, it has 33-inch tires on 17-inch wheels, but after climbing under it, a 35-inch tire should fit between the frame rails in that spare tire location. It has full loop recovery points on both the front and rear bumpers, although the ones on the rear bumper look a little odd, like they're just attached to a crossbar behind the bumper, but we're talking function here, so still checks that box. The taillights are tucked into the body of the truck, which will limit damage to them, and they have an integrated blind spot monitor, so you won't need to do anything fancy to a replacement bumper to keep that feature. Like the Bronco, the new Ranger Raptor is pre-wired to accommodate auxiliary lights with wiring routes to the bumper and all throughout, and as I understood, even one up to the roof. The engineers at the event did tell me that the all-new 2024 Rangers have threaded inserts for a roof rack. So that would mean that there wouldn't be any need to drill to add a roof rack. Naturally, however, they wouldn't let me peel back the weather stripping to check, so we'll just leave this one up in the air for now. It might allow for a roof rack without drilling. Should be pretty sick. Built into the top of the bed are tie-down points. These are something new and make me think that you could run a bed rack with a rooftop tent on it and then a tonneau cover, which would put this truck on the top of a lot of your lists. Power is built into the bed with a 110 volt socket on a 400 watt inverter and then a 12 volt socket. Both will run while the truck is turned off, and then they have an automatic kill switch to prevent you from killing your starter battery. The tailgate is easy open and has a built-in backup camera, light, bottle opener, and garbage bag holder. The steps along the rocker panels act to mitigate rock chips on the doors, but are not rock sliders, nor are they convertible steps like on the Bronco Raptor. If there is an option to order without these steps, I would go that route just to save a little bit of money and then add something aftermarket. The shark fin on the roof includes the FM antenna, which I would also modify to fit my camper or roof rack better. I don't know why that's up there, it just adds a lot of height. While the rear bumper is steel, the front is plastic, which leads me to my first significant negative. The adaptive cruise control sensor is in the exact same spot as it is on the Bronco, which limits winch placement. I wish it were higher up in the grille so that a replacement winch bumper would just be a simple install. Unfortunately, the aftermarket world will have to get creative about relocating that cruise control sensor so that we can all run winches on these trucks. Before we jump inside, I want to talk about overall dimensions. If you notice, the grille lacks the iconic center marker lights, the ones we all call Raptor lights. They are missing because the truck is under 80 inches, so they aren't legally required, but just barely. The width, excluding mirrors, is 79.8 inches. So I had to ask one of the engineers why they couldn't have just made the Ranger Raptor an additional 1/10 of an inch wider on each side, and he said simply, it didn't need it. So I'm sure it won't be long before someone has an aftermarket kit so you can add those marker lights to your Ranger Raptor, but it won't come with them. The new 2024 Ranger is only offered in Super Crew size, no more Super Cab, and they all have the 5-foot bed, making the overall length just shy of 211 inches with a wheelbase of 128.7 inches and a height of 76 inches. The front approach angle is 33 degrees with a departure of 26.4 degrees, a breakover of 24.2 degrees, and a minimum running ground clearance of 10.7 inches. All of that is really great for a 405 horsepower truck on 33-inch tires. Pretty impressive. As for the bed dimensions, like I was saying, it's a 5-foot long box, but it's 48.2 inches between the wheel wells and then 62.4 inches wall to wall. It's a really proportionate looking truck, and I have to say, it's a good looking truck. But one more time, squeeze 35s onto it, and it can be the Ranger Raptor that we have all been asking for. I don't have any statistics on fuel economy or tank size, but it does take 91 octane, and if it's anything like the Bronco Raptor, I suspect it'll get around 10 to 12 miles per gallon while out on the trails. Estimating that it will have probably a 22-gallon tank means about 250 miles on the trails, which isn't great for overlanding. So we'll just check that in the it could be better box. The interior is nice and quiet. While filming inside, I had the doors closed, and unlike my Bronco or Jeep, I couldn't hear the conversations happening outside the door. A huge plus. The seats are very comfortable. The kind of comfortable that makes me jealous. The leather and the suede, they work well together. The accent of Ford Performance's Code Orange and carbon fiber throughout the interior are just a nice, kind of luxury looking touch. Now they did tell me, however, that the 2024 Ranger Raptor will not offer Code Orange as a paint color. A massive blow, because in my opinion, that is the best color for it. The screen is a 12-inch screen turned vertically. At first, I thought this would be a little weird, but layering the information across that vertical format just kind of felt natural. While in the normal mode, the off-road screen controls the lockers, which I am not a fan of. I prefer physical buttons or switches when running off-road tools like locking differentials. So to avoid using the screen to activate the lockers, you use the little selection dial near the center console and you just pick the appropriate off-road mode, and these modes will automatically turn on the lockers, but then you'll need to use the screen to turn them off, which I think is a tad cumbersome because you're going to be touching the screen a lot when you could just be focusing on the trail. I know that with an electronic transfer case and e-lockers and all of that, that the button, the physical button, is just activating something electronic anyway, but I don't want to rely on the screen. I would prefer to see the hero switches up on the dash like the Bronco had. That would eliminate the need to hunt through software, find the switch I'm looking for. It just declutters the experience of driving off-road. So, could be better. All of that aside, the screen is incredible. Having multiple camera angles, off-road information, and then maps simultaneously is impressive. But it may be a little bit much to operate all at one time. However, I do like the screen itself. The steering wheel is perfect. I always get asked about something I miss from the Bronco after switching back to a Jeep. It's the steering wheel. Ford just gets it. And the Raptor, it's no different. With paddle shifters, the center mark, and all of the fun Raptor buttons, including suspension tuning, exhaust note, and steering strength, this is precisely what I want on a steering wheel. And all of the controls, they're in the right place. Cheers to Ford. They get it. Ford has also included a built-in trailer brake controller, a big plus for those that are towing. I don't tow because I prefer to build a camper, an all-in-one off-road unit, but a lot of you tow, so that's built in now, which is great. You won't have to install one. Thank you, Ford. And then there is the all-digital instrument cluster. Holy wow, I wish I had this. It is fully customizable, so you can monitor all of the details of your engine that you want to monitor. About the only thing that you can't keep track of is the airbox filter. This screen is exactly what every new off-roader should have so that we can tune what we're visually seeing at all times. Again, well done on that one. Now, the gear selector. This little nub of a gear selector is something they considered making a selection wheel, and I'm very happy that they didn't. They opted to keep it as a traditional selector, but like most of us, I wish it were bigger. The wireless charging pad has a nice upgrade, air vents. I can't tell you how many times I've reached down to grab a device from the Bronco's wireless charger and it was like reaching into the belly of Mount Doom. This is a welcomed upgrade. The passenger side is clutter-free and has a top box to hide things in, something I know my wife will absolutely love, would. I'm not saying will, I'm not putting that in the universe, but she would love it. She's always looking for a spot to store sunglasses or wallet and just all of her other knickknacks. Inside the center console is a 12-volt outlet, but no light. I think a small lamp needs to be in a little black box such as this, because it's dark, it's cluttered with things, it just needs a little light in there. Just a small one. You open the thing, the light turns on. That's all I'm asking for. But you got a 12-volt, so maybe put a 12-volt light in there. This is a big one that every Bronco passenger has asked for, A-pillar grab handles. Yay! I know that whenever I had a passenger in the Bronco, they always asked me where the handle was, and in the Ranger Raptor, you won't have to worry about that. Moving to the back seat, there are 2 bins under the bench, and I think this will be a very popular spot to install an onboard air compressor. The bench, however, does not fold up in a 40-60 split, but it folds as an entire bench. So if you have a car seat or if someone is sitting in the back there, you will need to remove it or them just to access those bins. Similarly, the back of the seat folds forward and should lay flat. I was operating this with one hand with the camera in the other, and I couldn't figure out how to fold the headrests forward. I'm sure I just needed to give the string a firmer tug or something, but this adds a flat spot to lay gear and a possible option for some aftermarket MOLLE panels behind the seat. The rear window is electric, but still tiny. It would be cool to see the entire rear window roll down like some of the competition. Still nice that you don't have to fight with it just to open and close, climb over seats and over gear. You just press a button. That's great. Now, if you have a sharp eye, you've noticed two things missing. Just like the Bronco, there are no rear air vents, and the only cup holders are in the center seat of the rear bench. What gives? I can tell you right here now that anybody riding in the back seat of a Raptor while I'm driving will be wishing that they had air vents. I asked the engineers why, and the answer was cost savings. Truthfully, I think we'd all pay the extra $2,000 or whatever the number is to have access to air conditioning in the back of our trucks. I mean, at least I know I would. I don't know why they don't have that anymore. It's on the Australian one. What gives, Ford? Okay, the next one, cup holders. I don't get it. I guess you can use the door card, but no center console cup holders. Okay, enough of that. There it is, the 2024 Ranger Raptor, a significant upgrade to the previous generation Ranger, and then pushing the limits even further of even the new 2024 Ranger. There is a lot to love about this truck, and if I were looking at it back in October of 2022 while I was ordering my Gladiator, I likely would have selected the Ranger Raptor. Seriously, it's a great truck that I cannot wait to get behind the wheel of. The Ranger Raptor is sure to make a lot of local landers happy. I can't wait to see how these are modified in the coming years. I'm really impressed with this truck. The response from Toyota, Chevy, and Jeep, it had better be impressive. Now, if the Ranger Raptor is not the truck for you, perhaps the Bronco Raptor is. And you can catch my video about that monster right over here. I'll see you in that one.